Ladies and gentlemen, today, let's talk about something raw, something real, how a man's behavior reveals whether a woman is just an option or the one. The difference may seem subtle, but it's powerful. It's in the tone of his voice, the weight of his decisions, and the consistency of his actions. When a woman is just an option, a man moves with inconsistency. His attention comes in waves, intense one day, cold the next. He appears when it suits him, when his schedule is open, when he's bored, or when other distractions fade. It's not that he doesn't know how to be consistent, it's that he doesn't see the need to be. She's treated like a placeholder, a backup plan, someone he reaches for when his world feels quiet, but never someone he builds a world around. In this version of love, everything is built around his convenience. Texts are replied to late or not at all, calls are missed, then explained away with shallow excuses, plans are vague, maybe later, becomes a recurring phrase. She finds herself questioning her worth not because she's unworthy, but because his behavior makes her feel optional, disposable even. And what's worse, he often masks this inconsistency with charm. He'll say the right things to keep her hooked, but the pattern is clear. She is not a priority, she is a pit stop. But when a woman is the one, everything shifts. Consistency becomes his language of love. He doesn't disappear when he's tired. He doesn't go silent when life gets busy. He learns how to integrate her into his life, not squeeze her in between moments. She becomes part of his rhythm, not an interruption to it. His messages are steady. His effort doesn't fluctuate based on mood or temptation. It's not perfect, but it's present, and that presence, it's powerful. Because real consistency isn't just about frequency, it's about intentionality. It's about showing up emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even on the hard days. It's about letting her feel, without needing to ask or wonder, that she matters every day, not just on the days he feels like proving it. When a woman is just an option, a man's priorities rarely adjust to make space for her. She constantly feels like she's competing with everything else in his life, his friends, his work, his hobbies, even his phone. She's someone he sees after everything important is done, not someone who holds importance in herself. Her needs, her time, her presence, they all get placed on hold, postponed, or ignored if something more appealing or urgent comes along. It's not that he doesn't have time, everyone has time for what they value. It's that he chooses not to use his time on her. She might hear things like, "I've just been really busy," or "Let's see how this week goes," or "I'll let you know." And when she does get time, it often feels rushed, distracted, or like he's mentally somewhere else. She's given fragments of his attention, not because she's undeserving, but because he hasn't placed her in the part of his life that requires care, effort, and planning. She becomes the afterthought, never the focus. But when a woman is the one, everything realigns. She doesn't have to chase his time, she receives it freely, intentionally, and consistently. He begins to organize his life with her in mind, not as an inconvenience, but as something worth protecting. Work still exists, obligations still arise, but she no longer feels like she's fighting for his energy. She receives it naturally, because now she's part of his world, not on the outside of it. He starts making decisions differently. If he has a choice between rest and reaching out, he reaches out. If a plan is forming in his life, she's part of it. He's not trying to fit her in around his life, he's shaping life with her as a central piece. He starts showing up not because he has to, but because not showing up doesn't feel right anymore. This isn't about obsession or control, it's about alignment of values. He begins to value her time as equal to his own. Her needs begin to matter alongside his goals, and without realizing it, his actions say, "You are no longer just a part of my life that I visit, you are someone I consider with every move I make." When she's the one, he doesn't need reminders to make her a priority, he does it naturally, because her place in his life has meaning, and meaning doesn't get scheduled around, it gets honored. When a woman is just an option, a man leans heavily on words. He becomes fluent in promises that sound poetic but lack substance. He knows exactly what to say to spark hope, to keep her guessing, to string her along. She might hear things like, "You mean a lot to me," or "I see a future with you," yet nothing in his behavior supports those claims. His affection is verbal, his interest is verbal, his future plans are verbal, but his actions don't rise to meet his language. This is the world of mixed signals where she's left analyzing texts, replaying conversations, and trying to decode intentions that should have been clear through action. One moment, he showers her with attention. The next, he's distant, detached, or unavailable. He might apologize when she calls out his absence, but his apologies are hollow because nothing changes. The promises always sound sincere, but sincerity means nothing if it never materializes into effort. With an option, his words become a safety net, a way to hold her emotionally without ever committing physically, mentally, or spiritually. But when a woman is the one, the dynamic transforms. Actions begin to speak louder than any words he could offer. He doesn't need to over-explain his intentions, his consistency speaks for him. He doesn't tell her she's important, he shows up when she needs him. He doesn't talk about a future in vague, dreamy terms, he starts creating space for her in his present. His love language becomes effort, presence, and reliability. It's in the small things, remembering her likes and dislikes without being reminded, making time for her even on busy days, following through on what he says, even when it's inconvenient. With the one, his character is no longer hidden behind charm, it's revealed in commitment. She doesn't need to ask where she stands, because his actions don't leave room for doubt. This shift isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. What he says and what he does begin to match. She feels secure not because of what he promises on a good day, but because of how he shows up on the difficult ones. Love, for him, stops being a speech and starts becoming a pattern. Words become support beams, not smoke screens, and suddenly she's no longer left trying to fill in the blanks between what he says and what he does, because his actions begin to write the full story. When a woman is just an option, transparency is limited. A man keeps his true thoughts, feelings, and intentions behind a wall. He may talk often, but he rarely reveals. His conversations are surface level small talk, flirtation, vague plans, empty warmth. He tells her just enough to keep her interested, but never enough to feel truly known. When she asks deeper questions about what he wants, where this is going, what he feels, he dances around them, redirects, or avoids answering altogether. With an option, there's always an emotional fog. She's left wondering what he's really thinking. Does he care? Is he serious? Why does he seem distant when things get too personal? Why does he change the subject when vulnerability knocks at the door? He might charm his way out of hard conversations using humor, distraction, or silence, and over time, she realizes she's building connection on a mystery, not on mutual understanding. This lack of openness isn't just confusing, it's damaging. It creates imbalance. She opens up more, hoping it will invite him in, but he stays closed off. She starts to question herself. Am I asking too much? Is it my fault he won't open up? And all the while, he continues offering fragments of himself, never enough to build a real bond, but just enough to maintain her hope. But when a woman is the one, something shifts deep within him. He feels safe enough to be seen. Walls that once stood tall start to fall, not because she forces them down, but because he chooses to lower them. He begins to share not only the good parts of himself, but also the raw, messy, hidden parts. His doubts, his fears, his past, the things he once guarded become shared truths between them. Transparency becomes a language of trust. He doesn't just talk at her, he speaks with her, openly, honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. She hears phrases like, "This is hard for me to say," or "I've never told anyone this before," or "I don't have all the answers, but I want to figure this out with you." These are the signs of emotional courage, the willingness to be seen, not just admired. And it's not just about words. She sees it in how he handles conflict. He doesn't shut down or withdraw. He leans in. He doesn't mask his emotions behind pride or ego. He lets her see the truth, even when it's inconvenient, because protecting the connection matters more than protecting his image. With the one, his truth isn't hidden in shadows, it's invited into the light. He doesn't just want her to know him, he wants her to understand him. He values depth over comfort, clarity over confusion, honesty over charm. And in that openness, a foundation begins to form, one built on something far stronger than chemistry or attraction, emotional truth. When a woman is just an option, the effort a man gives is minimal, and more importantly, it's empty. It lacks energy, intention, and heart. He does just enough to keep her interested, but never enough to create something meaningful. His effort feels transactional, like he's checking a box, not building a bond. He may send a good morning text once in a while, show up sporadically, or remember something she told him weeks ago. But there's no real consistency, no rhythm, no momentum. The energy behind his effort is passive. She can sense it, the lack of enthusiasm, the indifference. Plans feel last minute. Conversations are short and surface level. His compliments are generic. Dates feel recycled. She starts to wonder, am I just another routine to him? Because the truth is, when effort doesn't carry emotional energy, it feels hollow, and she feels it. He doesn't ask deeper questions. He doesn't observe the little things that make her smile or pay attention to the subtleties that make her unique. He listens just enough to respond, but not enough to understand. And when he does do something nice, it often feels more like an obligation than a gesture of love. It's the kind of effort that says, I'm doing this because I have to, not because I want to. But when a woman is the one that changes, effort transforms into enthusiasm. It carries energy, presence, and emotion. He doesn't just do things, he puts his heart into what he does. Whether it's a small gesture like remembering how she takes her coffee, or a larger act like planning a special date, tailored to her interests. His effort feels alive. He pays attention not because she demands it, but because he's genuinely interested. He notices the way she lights up when she talks about something she loves. He remembers the story behind her favorite song. He senses when she's off, even if she doesn't say it. And when he gives with intention. With focus, with care, his effort says, "You matter enough for me to try." He invests his time, not just his presence. He puts thought into the conversations, into the moments, into the future. The energy he brings isn't forced, it's a reflection of how much he values her. And she can feel it in the way he plans ahead, the way he shows up when it's hard, the way he adjusts without being asked. Because real effort is not about grand gestures. It's about intentional consistency. It's about doing small things well, often, and with heart. It's about showing that love isn't just something he says, it's something he does, with energy that proves she's more than a fleeting interest. When a woman is just an option, a man doesn't protect the connection, he gambles with it. He treats the bond between them as something replaceable, something casual, something he can walk away from and return to when it's convenient. He doesn't think twice about flirting with other women, entertaining attention online, or keeping his dating options open. He may not cheat physically, but emotionally, he's detached, unavailable, reckless. He doesn't consider how his choices impact her, because deep down, he doesn't fear losing her, and you only protect what you're afraid to lose. He allows ego to interfere with communication. He lets pride take priority over peace. Arguments turn into silence, silence turns into distance, and distance becomes the norm. The bond weakens, not because of one big mistake, but because of 100 small acts of neglect. He leaves the connection vulnerable to miscommunication, to temptation, to his own emotional immaturity, and he doesn't take ownership of the damage he causes. Instead, he deflects, gaslights, or acts like she's overreacting when she expresses hurt. She may feel like she's the only one trying to hold things together, constantly initiating conversations, apologizing first, or trying to fix the tension he won't even acknowledge. In that space, love doesn't feel like safety. It feels like survival, and a bond that once had potential begins to feel like a one-sided effort, slowly eroding under the weight of his carelessness. But when a woman is the one, a man begins to guard the connection like it's sacred. He becomes intentional about protecting what they're building, not just from outside forces, but from his own flaws, triggers, and behaviors. He doesn't see the relationship as fragile, but he treats it with care, because he knows even strong things can break if neglected. He becomes mindful of his words in conflict. He doesn't aim to win an argument, he aims to understand. He checks his tone, his timing, and his ego, not because he's perfect, but because the relationship matters more to him than being right. He values the emotional safety they share, and he refuses to compromise it for momentary pride. He draws boundaries not just for her protection, but for his. He avoids situations, conversations, and connections that could invite confusion or disrespect into what they're building. Not because she asks him to, but because he sees the bond as a responsibility, not just a reward. He chooses loyalty not just in action, but in mindset. His phone becomes a tool of connection, not secrecy. His free time becomes a chance to grow closer, not escape silently. And when the world gets loud, when life gets messy, hard, or uncertain, he doesn't let the relationship fade into the background. Instead, he leans in. He becomes the anchor when things feel unsteady. He communicates. He shows up. He makes her feel like this bond is worth fighting for, not something he'll abandon the moment things get uncomfortable. Because when she's the one, he stops playing defense against her and starts playing defense for her, for the relationship, and for the connection that makes them both better. When a woman is just an option, a man's behavior around other men in her life often stems from jealousy, not genuine care. His reactions are rooted in insecurity, not commitment. He might ask who she's texting, make passive-aggressive comments when she mentions male friends, or get possessive when she's receiving attention from others. But here's the truth: possessiveness is not proof of love. It's a reflection of control. It's driven by fear of losing her, not because he values her deeply, but because he sees her as his, a reflection of ego, not devotion. Jealousy, in this context, becomes toxic. It creates tension. It makes her feel like she has to walk on eggshells around him. Her independence starts to shrink under the weight of his suspicions. And strangely, the same man who shows jealousy when another guy enters the picture might still be emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or flirting with others himself. That's because jealousy without commitment is just manipulation. It's claiming ownership without responsibility. In contrast, when a woman is the one, jealousy transforms into something much healthier: emotional assurance. He doesn't have to hover over her or monitor her interactions, because he's already doing the work that builds security. He gives her no reason to question his loyalty, and in return, he doesn't question hers. The focus is no longer on controlling her, but on creating a space where she feels so deeply seen, valued, and chosen that she never has to wonder about where she stands. He understands that admiration from others doesn't threaten the bond they've built, because admiration doesn't replace connection. He knows that the love they share is rooted in more than just attraction. It's built on trust, shared growth, and emotional intimacy. So, instead of feeling threatened, he feels proud. Proud that others see what he already cherishes. Proud to stand beside her without fear, because he knows what they have isn't shallow or temporary, it's solid. When a woman is just an option, a man's behavior is often ruled by insecurity and control masquerading as care. He may become jealous when she talks to other men, posts certain things online, or lives her life independently, not because he values the connection, but because he sees her as a possession, not a partner. This kind of jealousy is rooted in ego, not love. It doesn't come with protection, it comes with paranoia. It doesn't bring closeness, it brings control. He doesn't offer real reassurance. Instead, he expects her to constantly prove herself while doing little to make her feel emotionally secure. She is expected to be loyal to someone who doesn't clarify her place in his life. He gets possessive when she distances herself, yet distant when she comes closer. He wants access without responsibility, commitment without accountability. His jealousy isn't about love, it's about fear of losing control over someone he hasn't even fully claimed. But when a woman is the one, the emotional dynamic changes completely. She no longer has to earn reassurance, it's built into the way he loves her. He doesn't become jealous of her independence, he respects it. He doesn't panic when she interacts with others because he trusts the connection they've built. He isn't constantly testing her loyalty because he's already given her emotional safety in return. Assurance becomes natural, not performative. She doesn't have to ask where she stands. He makes it clear through his consistent presence, the way he introduces her to people in his life, the way he includes her in his future, and the way he honors her in her absence. He doesn't need to monitor her, he supports her. He doesn't feel threatened by her shine, he celebrates it. He becomes a place of calm, not chaos. In this kind of love, security replaces suspicion. She's not walking on eggshells, wondering what will trigger his doubt. She's not constantly having to explain herself, prove herself, or silence herself just to avoid conflict. Instead, she can rest in the peace that comes from being with someone who knows her value and reflects it in how he treats her. When a woman is just an option, a man often disappears during her difficult moments. He may be present when things are fun, light, and easy, but the moment she's hurting, overwhelmed, or emotionally fragile, he becomes distant. He doesn't know how or doesn't want to hold space for her when she's not fun to be around. Her pain becomes inconvenient. Her vulnerability makes him uncomfortable. Her tears are met with silence, withdrawal, or dismissal. Instead of being a safe place, he becomes another reason she doesn't feel safe. And the cruelest part, when she needs him the most, he's the most absent. He may say things like, "You're being too emotional," or "You'll be fine," or worse, he may offer nothing at all. No words, no effort, no presence. She learns quickly that she has to shrink her emotions to keep him from walking away. Her struggles become secrets, and her strength becomes a mask. But when a woman is the one, the man shows up differently in her darkest moments. He becomes emotionally available, not just physically present. When she's breaking down, he doesn't pull back, he leans in. He may not always have the right words, but his presence says what words can't. "I'm here, you're not alone, I'm not going anywhere." He listens without rushing to fix. He holds space without judgment. He's not intimidated by her depth, by her trauma, or by the complexity of her emotions. Instead of seeing her pain as a burden, he sees it as a part of her story he's willing to sit with. He recognizes that love isn't just about joy, it's about standing with someone through every chapter, not just the easy ones. His support is subtle, yet powerful. It's in the way he notices her silence and checks in the way he gives her comfort without asking her to perform strength, in the way he adapts his energy to meet her where she is, not where he wishes she'd be. With the one, he understands that real intimacy is not built in laughter alone, it's forged in the quiet, painful moments that reveal who stays when things fall apart. When a woman is just an option, a man often dodges accountability like it's a threat. He avoids ownership, shifts blame, and makes excuses for his actions, or worse, he makes her feel like she's the problem for reacting to his behavior. If she expresses how she feels, he calls her too sensitive or dramatic. If she sets a boundary, he accuses her of being distant or difficult. His defense mechanisms speak louder than any apology ever could. He's quick to justify his actions, but slow to understand their impact. In this space, her hurt is never validated, it's minimized or ignored. He may say, "I didn't mean it like that," or you're overthinking it, instead of simply saying, I understand and I'll do better. These are the signs of emotional immaturity, the kind that confuses criticism with attack and feedback with rejection. And so, the relationship becomes imbalanced. She reflects, adjusts, and evolves while he remains emotionally stagnant. When she brings up concerns, instead of listening with an open heart, he becomes defensive. He turns the conversation around, makes her feel guilty for expressing discomfort, or emotionally withdraws until she drops it just to keep the peace. This dynamic makes her feel like she has to choose between her voice and the relationship, and no woman should ever have to make that choice. But when a woman is the one, a man begins to operate from a place of emotional responsibility. He doesn't run from accountability, he respects it, because he understands that healthy love requires self-awareness. When she expresses pain, he doesn't get offended, he leans in and reflects. He listens not to respond, but to truly understand. He doesn't look for a way to escape the discomfort, he holds space for it, knowing that growth only happens when ego steps aside. He learns to say things like, "You're right, I didn't handle that well," or "I can see how that hurt you, and I want to make it right." Not because he's perfect, but because he cares more about healing than being right. He takes responsibility for his emotional reactions, for his mistakes, for the way his silence or tone may have hurt her. And instead of hiding behind excuses, he uses those moments as a mirror, a chance to become a better version of himself, not just for her, but for the relationship they're building together. Accountability becomes his silent promise, not just to avoid repeating mistakes, but to stay conscious of how his behavior affects her emotional safety. He doesn't wait for conflict to improve. He actively works on himself even when things seem fine. He starts seeing love as a shared space that requires mutual care, and he treats her heart not as a test of his patience, but as a reflection of his character. Because when a man truly values a woman, he understands that love isn't just about showing up on good days, it's about showing up when he falls short, and proving that his love is strong enough to own the mess, not just the moments that look pretty on the outside. When a woman is just an option. Conversations about the future feel like landmines. The moment she brings up anything about where this is going, or speaks of long-term goals, his energy shifts. He gets quiet, dismissive, or uncomfortable. Maybe he gives vague responses like, "Let's not rush things," or "Can't we just enjoy the moment?" On the surface, those words sound reasonable, even mature, but underneath, they often mask a deeper truth. He doesn't see her in his future. And the silence speaks volumes. She learns not to bring it up anymore, not because she's content with uncertainty, but because she's afraid of driving him away. She starts to suppress her natural desires for stability, partnership, and clarity, just to preserve something that already feels fragile. His avoidance becomes her burden. He moves through the relationship like a tourist, enjoying the view, but never committing to stay. She's investing emotionally in a story that he's not even willing to write with her. In this space, love becomes lopsided. She's thinking long-term while he's living day-to-day, and while he may drop hints, casual statements like, "Maybe one day," or "Who knows what the future holds," there's no real foundation behind those words. They are conversational filler, not committed vision. The idea of building something deeper becomes a source of tension rather than inspiration. But when a woman is the one, everything changes. The future isn't something he avoids, it's something he actively includes her in, not out of obligation, but because imagining a life without her feels incomplete. He starts to speak in we, not me. His plans begin to stretch beyond next week, beyond next month, and she's in them, not as a placeholder, but as a partner. She doesn't have to initiate every "what are we" conversation, because he's already showing her through his actions and words that she's not just a temporary chapter, she's part of the long-term narrative. He includes her in major decisions, values her opinions, and begins to envision life with her as a co-creator of something lasting. He might ask questions like, "Where do you see yourself in a few years?" Or "How do you feel about building something together?" These are not just romantic hypotheticals, they are signs of a man who is emotionally invested and thinking beyond the now. He begins to align his choices, his finances, his time, his goals in a way that makes room for her. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. And when disagreements or doubts come up, he doesn't shut down. He talks through them. He sees the future not as a perfect destination, but as a journey he's willing to walk with her. His love is no longer just about how he feels today, it's about what he's building for tomorrow. He understands that security isn't created by avoiding the hard questions, it's created by facing them together, with honesty, maturity, and intention. Because when a woman is truly the one, the future doesn't feel like pressure, it feels like possibility. When a woman is just an option, love becomes a game full of strategies, silence, manipulation, and confusion. He's not truly invested in building something meaningful, he's invested in maintaining control. His moves are calculated, a delayed text to create mystery, a compliment just when she starts to pull away, a breadcrumb of attention to keep her guessing. It's not that he doesn't understand how to love, it's that he uses just enough of it to keep her hanging on, but not enough to ever give her stability. In this version of connection, there are rules unspoken, but deeply felt. Don't text too often, don't call first, don't ask for too much, don't show too much emotion. She's constantly trying to decode what's real and what's performance, and he keeps her in this loop of emotional highs and lows, pushing her away, then pulling her close just enough to reset her hope. It's a pattern of confusion disguised as passion, and inconsistency dressed up as mystery. This kind of love, if it can even be called that, is exhausting. It's not built on mutual understanding, respect, or truth. It thrives on imbalance. One person gives more, one person feels more, one person is always wondering, "What did I do wrong?" She's left feeling anxious instead of secure, desperate for clarity, but handed only chaos. But when a woman is the one, the entire rhythm changes. Love no longer feels like a game, it becomes a grounding, honest experience. There are no tricks, no mind games, no emotional punishments for being too available, too caring, too expressive. He doesn't weaponize silence. He doesn't withhold affection as a form of control. Instead, he invites clarity, he encourages openness, he values simplicity, not because love is always easy, but because it should never be manipulative. The relationship feels calm, not chaotic, real, not rehearsed. She doesn't have to question her every move, filter her thoughts, or edit her emotions to keep his interest. He loves her as she is, not as someone he needs her to be to feed his ego. And he shows up without fear of losing power, because he's not there to win, he's there to build. He doesn't treat her heart like a scoreboard. He doesn't need to be chased to feel wanted or create distance to regain control. His consistency replaces the need for games. His honesty makes space for trust. His presence becomes proof of what he feels, and she no longer has to search for signs in the silence. With the one, love becomes safe, sincere, and mature. It's not something he uses to manipulate. It's something he offers to grow gently, intentionally, and without the need to perform. So, if you're ever unsure of where you stand in a man's life, look past the words. Look past the charm, the chemistry, the carefully timed attention. Watch how he treats the bond. Watch how he handles your heart. Because when a woman is just an option, she's managed. But when she's the one, she's honored. There is a difference, and that difference is in the details. In the effort, the consistency, the presence, the future he builds with you, and the peace you feel in his energy. A man may say many things, but his patterns will always reveal the truth. So don't settle for being a convenience. Don't shrink to fit into someone's comfort zone, because when you're truly the one, you won't have to question it. You'll feel it in his actions, and you'll know it in your soul.